This is about transvestites. Right. The greatest joy for mankind is to love and be loved. A baby cries out to be picked up and nursed, not left alone in its cradle for hours on end. A small child falls over and, although not really hurt, cries to be comforted. All these little demonstrations of affection produce a confidence and sense of security in us as we grow to adulthood, and hopefully enable us to give love to others and our own children if we are lucky enough to have them. If we read some of Charles Dickens' work, there are numerous stories of children being in situations where they have grown up in terrible boarding schools or orphanages, subjected to cruelty and a complete lack of love from a loving family. And there are many examples in every country extending back to the dawn of time. More recently, some of the children's homes in Ireland have been in the media. But Ireland is not alone, and more recently privately run children's homes in England, run for profit rather than for the benefit of their small charges, have been discussed in the media. There are examples of children suffering all alone, all over the world, but poverty alone is not responsible for the neglect of children. There are many wealthy families who neglect their children, leaving them in the care of very unsuitable people who treat them unkindly, and then they send them off to boarding school at the earliest opportunity. This lack of loving and demonstrative care produces all forms of phobias in us. Some of us have been lucky enough to have subconscious memories of luckier lives and can rationalize unlucky present ones. But for others, this is not the case. It would be impossible to come up with one answer for all the different sufferings that so many of us have endured. But in some men particularly, the covert wearing of female underwear or clothing is confused with a sexual frisson and perhaps a twisted feeling of closeness to a mother figure and the love and security they should have received in childhood but have never known. It's not a sign of homosexuality or any kind of sexual perversion. It is engendered by that person trying to feel some form of connection to a lack of mother love. The male sex is physically the strongest, but in most cases the female is emotionally the strongest. A baby girl is more likely to survive a difficult birth than a baby boy because she will struggle to live. Women tend to live longer than men as they usually find something to live for, even when their looks have gone and they are well into old age. I have come across several examples of what I am trying to explain in my long career. One was a poor little Irishman. He had no friends and lived in a council accommodation in central London. His popularity was not enhanced by the fact that his personal hygiene was non-existent, and on the days he attended the clinic we could smell him from outside the front door. He'd been referred to me as someone at work had pushed him over and he had sustained a fractured vertebra. Over time, he kept returning to me and obviously felt comfortable enough with me to start wearing his ladies' underwear to his treatment sessions. I made very little comment on this, although there were times when I find it very hard not to laugh at the ludicrous vision of a short, fat, hairy little man in a bustier and suspenders. Although that particular outfit went out of favour quite quickly, as it was incredibly uncomfortable. Poor man, he had grown up in a children's home from a very early age and had no family at all, or none that he knew of. If what we have heard about some of these children's homes is true, there has been precious little love and kindness in such places, and sadly there are many examples all over the world, and other children who have suffered like my patient. He had left Ireland when he was in his late teens and eventually found his way to England. He'd received very little education and had a series of dead-end jobs. He was on sickness benefit when I met him, and I was very sorry when I heard that he had died alone in his flat of a cerebral hemorrhage. I only hope he gets a more fortunate life in the future. In a complicated society such as ours has become, and as the years go by is becoming more so, this knowledge was never more needed. The majority of us are kindly and well-meaning, but we need to remember that love and concern for all is desperately important. And for those perverted individuals who take advantage of the poor, loveless children within these establishments, thinking that they can get away with their behaviour unnoticed, they will find that every act of unkindness and cruelty to others is in the end an act against oneself. That's that.